When you're trying to do a cardio routine, it has to be based on consistency. There's a thing called the training effect. And the training effect is when the body adapts to the fitness needs. And it can only adapt to fitness needs through consistency by being constantly exposed to a certain routine, week after week, day after day, whatever. It's just like you build calluses on your hands because you're grabbing stuff and your hands become thicker to support the grabbing activity, and some weightlifters and fitness people use the calluses as a badge. I don't. I like to just put lotion on. I like to shake hands with people and have okay hands. But back to cardio. People's lung capacity and respiratory systems, they're very weak these days because you don't do nothing. So a lack of cardio activity when you do start to do your cardio program is very, very uncomfortable because your lung capacity is low, meaning the ability to support oxygen within that lung capacity space is limited. There's a thing called a residual volume. And the residual volume is like a point in the lungs where when you're a baby, there's certain air pockets within the system of the lungs. And that's why, when babies are born, they still have the ability to float because there's a certain air pocket in their lungs that contain air. It's called the residual volume. A little bit of science for you. You can look it up. It's called residual volume. In any degree, when you take a breath, your ability to expand your lungs and take deeper breaths pretty much can come down to the residual volume. So if your residual volume is like this, lack of activity increases that residual volume. So it restricts your ability to take deeper breaths. So when you're going upstairs or simple activity, you can't catch your breath, is because your residual volume has increased inside your lung and respiratory system, limiting your expansion and ability to grab more air and sustain more air in the respiratory system. So with time, through lack of activity, this residual volume can increase, and that's why people are short-winded. But through fitness, practice, and a structured approach to a cardiovascular program, you can push that residual volume back down, so it allows you to get a better airstream or expansion. You could actually change residual volume by just doing breathing techniques, by learning how to expand your lungs in and out. And actually, those elevation training masks and all those new fancy gear they put on your face to mock high altitude training, those actually can increase your residual volume and lung expansion because it's putting you in a semi-disciplined position to appreciate every breath that comes in. You can't take short breaths because the short breaths will not be a sufficient amount of oxygen to support you. So you have to really exercise your intake and your outtake and your flow of your breathing patterns. So when you're having that mask on and there's a certain amount of holes that restrict the breathing, the air is still there, but it's dependent on your ability of how you inhale and exhale in a calm motion. So a lot of times when we breathe in air, just regular everyday people, we take that air for granted because it's not being restricted. So you could just imagine when people have asthma attacks and they can't get air and something like that. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, that's a different speech. Back to the cardio. With the cardio, you have to start with simple routines, and whatever it is, be consistent with it. So if you're training 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week, and you implement a cardio program, whether it's from 5 minutes to 2 hours of cardio, be consistent. If you like the bike, if you like the elliptical, if you like the treadmill, be consistent. If you get in that bike, make sure the resistance is sufficient. You're not just, pedaling air. Make sure the resistance is efficient. Pick the resistance, pick the time, monitor the watts and speeds, and keep those at the same tempo. Whether it's 20 minutes or 30 minutes, keep the tempo, the watts, the speed, the resistance, all the same up to 2 or 3 weeks so you can adapt and get better. You don't want to come and Monday do the bike at this speed and Tuesday at that speed and Wednesday at that speed and Thursday at that speed, because it's flipping around too much and the body can't adapt. It's not going to adapt to a certain kind of tempo, speed, wattage if it's constantly being changed. Yeah, it's going to do what it has to do at the moment, but your result factor and your mentality is just not going to be there because you're not going to be able to monitor if you're getting better or not. So now, say if you do the bike on Monday at resistance of 15 for 20 minutes and kept the watts and speed at a constant 18, it's productive. And then Wednesday you do the same thing, and Friday you do the same thing. So that's a whole week that you've made the body try to adapt to the same speed, same watt, and you should be getting better. And before you know it, weeks to weeks, it'll be easy for you because you're adapted. And then you can up the watt, up the speed, up the resistance because you've overcome that cardio resistance. And now it's time to move on. I'm not a favorite of the bike or elliptical. I mean, they come in handy when it comes to cross train. I feel those are extra details if people have knee issues or back issues or any kind of structural issues where they need less impact stuff. Fine, use the elliptical, use the bike. But to me, the treadmill, running, cardio is good because the treadmill keeps the speed at a consistent speed without you changing it. Meaning that when you're on the bike or elliptical, the natural order to slow down or give less wattage or output comes naturally. And you really have to be disciplining yourself to be looking at the dashboard and keeping the speed and the watts at a constant thing on your own. Whereas a treadmill, you hop on there, you set at 5.0 at 2% incline, it is what it is. And the only thing that's going to change it is if you hit the button to stop the treadmill or slow it down. So when I tell clients, go do 10 minutes on treadmill at 5.0 at 2% incline, I know that they're in that set cardio parameter and they're going to do it. And that's what's going to either bring about productive or change. So when it comes to the cardio, pick a consistent time, pick a consistent speed, wattage, RPMs, or whatever it is. Practice that week in, week out before you decide to hop around. Yeah, the professionals, the more elites of the fitness, they do all kinds of crazy different stuff. But even myself, when I do my cardio, it's a pattern. So I can monitor my heart, so I can monitor how I feel, I can monitor my days. I can't monitor how I feel and the feedback that I'm getting from a certain cardio program if I'm flipping it around every single day. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I always do cardio every other day regardless. If I feel fruity, feel extra, yeah, I'll do it back-to-back days depending on how I'm feeling, whatever. But I never miss a cardio every other day unless some extreme stuff comes up and, out of town situations, whatever. Everything's possible. Days change. But regardless, I'm always at a set speed, set incline, got the watch on, I'm monitoring my heart, and I pretty know where my heart health is based on my cardio output. So if my heart health is different on different days, I can identify why. Whether my nutrition wasn't right, it was the time of the day, it was how I was feeling, it was the mood, all those come into a factor. But any other good day when I'm following this consistent program, I have evolved and my fitness has adapted. My heart is beating lower because my pumping system, my circulatory output is more efficient, it's conditioned, and I'm growing from it. Meanwhile, people, a conditioned heart beats less. A conditioned heart beats less. So we hear this thing, get your heart up. Yeah, get your heart up so you could get to a productive area. But the more conditioned you are, the harder it is to get your heart up because your heart is pumping more pump strokes out more efficiently and supplying more oxygen within the red blood cells at a more efficient rate. You're becoming that fine-tuned engine so your heart doesn't have to work as hard for a little bit of activity. And this is why everybody's different. Everybody's condition is different. So when you go to these machines, you look at these machines and have the age and they say you should be at this percent and that percent. It really doesn't apply. I'm not gonna lie to you, it doesn't apply because everybody's heart condition is different. So you could minus your age, your max heart rate, you could times it towards a percentage of a target heart rate. But if you haven't done cardio a day in your life or you haven't been doing a consistent program, you could be walking on a treadmill at 3.5 and be at 85% because it's just your state of fitness and condition right now. And your heart has to work very hard just to be walking. So take it from me, get a professional, monitor yourself, get the watch, really identify with your heart and match your heart to the activity. Now when I'm running at freaking 5.0 at a 15% incline, like running up a hill, my heart is jacked because the magnitude of the exercise is pretty intense and the demand for energy is pretty high. But if I'm walking on a treadmill at 2% incline, at 3 speed of my fitness and my level of training, my heart should be nowhere near the 80, 75 right now. It should be like in the 40 or 50% range, just cruising along. But based on people's fitness levels is going to dictate where their heart is at. So get a professional to monitor your heart, base your heart on the activity, the longevity of the activity, the intensity of the activity, and that's how you're going to come to the conclusion of the condition that you're in. A professional like me could tell you like that. That's what I do. I monitor my clients' hearts here and there. I can monitor visually through their breathing, through their sweating, through the reactions, through their after effects. And then when we want to get technical, we strap them up with the watch. And the watch really is the insight to really what's happening with the people. So, in totality, the cardio program is just like nutrition. You got to base it on consistency. And for all you weight loss clients that's trying to lose weight, I'm telling you right now, the program shifts. It should be 70-30. 70% cardio, 30% strength, because cardio activity loses weight. So I know you guys love to work out, love to do circuits, but at the end of the day, you just have to move. We have a really misunderstanding of how much physical activity we actually do in a day compared to our sit-down time. And I do this math with clients all the time. The way you feel based off of doing 30 minutes of cardio, being out of shape or not in fit, could feel like you was doing cardio all freaking week. But in reality, 30 minutes out of 156 hours a week is nothing. So I tell clients do 5 hours. 5 hours out of 156 hours a week. I'm doing this math by 24 hours times 7, and how much you designate, 8 hours towards work, 8 hours towards sleep. I come up with these formulas based on how much time people really have to do something, but you don't. So we sit down and we do nothing in comparison to doing something. But our level of fitness and how we feel so uncomfortable when it comes to constantly moving, doing some jumping jacks, elliptical, bike, hopping around, moving, that uncomfortable feeling will have you thinking that you put some real work in. When in reality, you haven't. You ain't doing nothing, man. To change that balance of activity output in comparison to how much you do nothing. When I say do nothing, I mean working is mental. Some of you guys got a lot of mentally straining jobs. You're visually, you're in a computer, you're organizing, and it's just mentally draining because you're thinking. Mental exhaustion is not physical exhaustion. Yeah, you're burning brain cells and neurons and calories thinking, but that shit is not burning fat. So your mental exhaustion, wake up to the reality that mental exhaustion does not mobilize fat lipids. So if you're working a strenuous job and you're exhausted, fatigued because your job is sucking the hell out of your ass, sorry to tell you, it's not sucking the fat off for energy. You're sedentary still. You're sitting around. Although you're productive with your mind, your body composition is not going to change based on the energy of mental exhaustion that you put into your work every day. And it's the problem with a lot of us. Work drains us, and our nutrition is off, and we're not getting the right balance of carbs, protein, and fat, and our moods is off the chart. We come home, we don't want to do nothing. Leave me alone. I'm throwing it up, kicking it back. Need to sit down, but on my feet all day. Yeah, you've been on your feet all day by standing in one spot. I don't care if you got the Fitbit on and tracking your steps and all that. It's minor. 10,000 steps. 10,000 steps should be nothing. Do 20,000. If you got the Fitbit, average 20,000 steps a day. Because that's going to give you a real reality of how much you don't move. But that's a different story. You guys need to understand that there's such an imbalance of activity that you physically do to put in for cardio compared to the activity that you don't throughout the week. Just do it. Do an activity journal. An active cardio journal. When I be like, how much cardio does I? Let's see. I went to the gym one day. I did 30 minutes stand on. 20 minutes yesterday. I was on a bike. About 3 hours. Okay, 3 hours of cardio out of what? 156 hours a week, 7 days a week, 3 hours of cardio. Do you think 3 hours of activity is going to make a dent in weight loss? It's not. It's not. You got to change the game, man. You got to change it. I'm telling you, you need to live weight loss, think cardio, think activity. You need to mobilize. You need to change the whole dynamics of how your body is operating. Your body is not used to operating on a higher level activity. You think you are because your exhaustion level, you're sweating. You feel like, whoa, that was a good workout. Yeah, it was a good workout, but it's not making a dent. It's not making a dent. And that change that you need to make as far as going past the activity margin that you've been at in comparison to your daily activity. It's a big difference. You can't come train with me just 3 times a week at a half hour, 45 minutes and think that's going to make you lose weight, because it's not. You train with me 3 times a week, that means you should be at your private gym, your personal gym, or your home cardio equipment at least 5 hours. 3, 4 to 5 hours. Everybody's different. Some people have genetic wonders, and they can lose weight by just walking. It's fine, but that's not you. If you've been struggling with weight, shit ain't moving, not moving. There's nothing. It's the whole package. It's nutrition and your cardio. But that, I guarantee you, a lot of you just ain't moving. They come in here, we warm up, we hot, we want to strength train, Strength training's all good. Yeah, strength training, high intensity circuits, yeah, they burn more calories to a certain degree, and it's all science, it's all marketing, it's all hype. It's got to be put together, the full package, and used on a consistent way. You want a high intensity train? That means let's keep your heart in the red zone for 30 freaking minutes, not 30 seconds. If you want a high intensity train, your workout for 30 minutes should be redlined the whole time. That means we're doing what? 8 different exercises, 10 rounds, 30 seconds, 10-second break, no stop. Go do that for 30 to 40 minutes. That's it. Minimum water break. Why? So that heart can't come down. It needs to stay up there. Just like when I ran on the treadmill like a week ago. I stayed in 185, 195 heartbeats for 30 freaking minutes. High intensity. Got off the treadmill, laid on my back in shock still. Was probably in shock for the next 72 hours because I capitalized off of some high intensity shocking workouts where the demand for energy is higher because I'm in a recovery mode. It'll shock the system so much that you're still mobilizing calories to calm your butt down the next few days. But that's not going to happen from doing 30 seconds of jumping jacks and 10 burpees and 1 sprint on a treadmill and think that you did something, because you didn't. You didn't. Go out to Cherrywild Park Yellow Trail and run that sucker 3 or 4 times. You know what I'm saying? High intensity, up the hill, down, with a weight vest on. That's 1 high intensity workout out of the week. Do that 3 times. Then come see me consistently for 3 weeks. Then come see me and say that you've been doing some high intensity workout, D, and I don't understand why I'm not changing. Because you're not out here on incline elevating streets with 600 to 800 feet elevations pitch. That means you're going from ground is like 200 and you're going to elevate all the way up to 600 feet. You're not running those high intensity, at 4.5 up the hills, back, up the hills, back, up the hills, back. You're not doing that 6 times. That's high intensity training. So don't say, oh, don't you burn more calories if you do high intensity training? Yeah, you do, but you better make sure you're doing high intensity training. If you want to do high intensity training, you come see me. I'll let you know what high intensity training is. You can think I'm crazy, you're trying to kill you, and you're like not going to come back, and you're going to be scared because I'm going to put you in such an uncomfortable physical position that you're just not going to like me. You're going to think I'm a mean guy. A really mean guy that was trying to really do physical harm to you, because that's what I'm going to put you through. No breaks, less water, push through the pain. I don't want to hear it. Spartan up. So in reality, if you need more extra detail on the cardio, you're going to have to see me. It's